Hi, great people. Good evening. What an amazing evening that we are back at the World Show where we sharpen, we encourage, we motivate, and we grow together. I want to invite you and to welcome you to our show tonight. I hope you're well. I hope you've been doing well. I hope you had an amazing week. We thank God for everything that is happening around us and in us. Thank you for the comment and the sharing that you have been dropping on our messenger. We want to say thank you for those who have taken their time to share the link. Those people have taken their time even to continue, commenting on that show over the whole week. Don't take it for granted. We say thank you so much. We say siyabonga. We don't take it for granted because you have made us to be who we are in this show. So thank you so much and God bless you. It's another evening that we are here to continue sharpening one another. Kindly let us know where you're watching us from. Drop a text there, a comment there. How is the video? How is the sound? So that we can get into today's evening. And kindly make sure that you're tagging these kind of people because today's topic would be very deep, and I hope you can be able to tag. If you have a pastor, you have a reverend, you have a bishop, you have a policeman, you have a doctor, those kind of people, kindly make sure that you tag them tonight because I know today's message, they really need them more than us, and I'll say why as we end our topic today. So kindly feel free, make sure you have your notebook where you take your points, and I know we're going to have an amazing time, and I know we're going to have a place of building and growing together. Thank you. I can see those people who have already joined. I want to appreciate my brother Amos from Kenyatta Road, my big brother Julius. Thank you so much, my brother. Keep on. Yeah, it's by the grace of God. You know the work you have done to see this show happen here. Patricia, God bless you. Thank you, representing the Muranga. Nyeri is well represented by Caro. Caro, thank you. God bless you. Tag all those brothers, tag all those sisters. I know Nyanyuki is very well represented here. The Narumoro, going to Kieni. Thank you so much. I know all those people. Nakuru, it is well represented, and we thank God. Absolutely, the sound is okay. Great. With your confirmation that the sound is okay, the video is okay. Now, the work remaining here is for you to share this link. It's for you to comment. Let us know how we are doing as we get into our today's discussion. Last week we were here and we are talking about dealing with inner emptiness and how you can deal with the inner emptiness. Now, today we are taking it into a higher ground and we want to discuss emotional avoidance. I remember last week I was able to mention these, as I passed by, but today we want to get deeper on the emotional avoidance because I have realized, with time, we have great people, and I said this last week, we have great people looking from outside. You can admire them, from their stature, from the kind of estate they're living, from the kind of life, cars they're driving, from the kind of jobs and the office they're operating from, and you feel these people have achieved it in life. But when you have a moment and conversation with them, down there you feel there is something that is amiss, because for a long we have lived a life without, we have lived this life from outside. There's a kind of a life and stature that we have created for ourselves, which is no true definition of the self. They say there are three people you never lie to. You never lie to yourself, you never lie to your God who is your creator, and you never lie to your devil. Those are the three people who will always accompany you, and they will give the clear testimony and the clear state of who you are. So I have felt for long from this well show for maybe 1 month or two, we're going to deal with building the inner man, because if you can get the inner man, I'm telling you, there's a lot of outside challenge that will be able to deal, and it will be very swift for us to manage and to maneuver. That way it started by navigating. Then last week we came to dealing with emptiness, and now we want to get more deeper on the serious issues of emotions. And I hope we're going to build one another and we're going to encourage one another, because are human beings. And when I was doing my study, I realized that the human beings who are first created to be, what we call relational from the relationship. They're relational before they become rational. Before someone can think, can become logic, they will get to a place of feeling. That's why they say if you can associate with someone from an informal place, it will be very easy for them to handle them in the formal place. So the place of understanding our emotions, the place of understanding our feeling, the place of understanding our moods, and we're going to see the three difference between the emotions, feelings, and the mood, and how they are connected, and how we manage the three of them. So when we're talking about emotional avoidance, is a state when you disconnect, you detach, or you disassociate. Three words: you disconnect, you dissociate, or you detach yourself from the reality of your feelings and your emotions, how you feel. It's like how we respond, because emotions is how we respond. We react. Our reaction towards, the happenings, and these reactions are within. For example, when you get an information or you get news that you have lost somebody, the first place you'll feel bitter, you feel pain, you'll cry, that place of how you receive the information, how you receive the message, how you react to it, how you respond to it. It shows whether you're in touch with your emotions or you have walked a journey of avoiding. These are moments when you find yourself, when we expected you to be happy, you are like numb. You're not feeling anything. It's like you become, a rock. Let me use that word for lack of a better word. You become a rock, like nothing. You'll get people saying this cliche out there: hakuna kitu mi unitisha, mi by then you'll feel vitu zote, hakuna kitu ngumu mi feel. You'll hear this kind of cliche. So they'll tell you they have developed a system or a coping system or a coping strategy, which we are calling emotional attachment, that you are no longer attached with your feelings. I hope I'm clear. So I've said it's a place when you no longer allow yourself to go through that moment in terms of feelings, whether they are positive or negative, depending on what you're dealing with, or depending on what you're handling. You are handling something that is very stressful, something that is demanding, but you're behaving like it is okay. So that the moment it starts showing there is an emotional avoidance strategy, or there is an emotional avoidance behavior that you have developed, either for one reason or another, which we're going to look in our, as we progress in our show. But I wanted to lay a foundation of emotional avoidance. What is it? It's a place when you feel you have detached your emotion from yourself. It's like you have taken an emotion from you and you have kept it somewhere. It's like you can switch on and off. Are we together? It's a place when you have dissociated yourself. There is no any connection between, what you are going through and the way you're supposed to respond, because there are no more parameters of how someone's supposed to respond. When you get sick, I know the logic thing will do when you get sick, you need to think on where to go to hospital, whether you have money. But that particular moment when you get sick, the first thing that you need to feel is that emotion. You get emotional, you feel broken, you feel worn out, you feel like you want to cry, you feel like actually at that particular moment, people decide for you which hospital to go, which car you're going to use. And perhaps you have all these things, but people deciding you, because at that particular moment, we are allowing yourself to be real to your emotions and to your feelings. I hope I'm clear. Now, for you to understand emotional avoidance, there are three words you cannot assume. Number one is the emotion itself. Now, emotions is a response, and I hope you're going to understand this very well. I'm not becoming technical, but you need to understand that emotions is how we react, and the body produces some chemicals. In other words, in psychology, we'll say sensations. It's like there is neurons that are released. There is, the message comes to you, it hits. Then the emotions that are communicated in the whole body. Now, once your emotions are in the right place, the next thing, the foundations of emotion, or rather, emotion is the foundation of feelings. So, emotions are not feelings. Actually, if feelings are the expressions of your emotions. I hope I'm clear there. That emotions, it has to do with the functionality of your mind, how you feel. Then the feelings express. When you have a sad, emotional state, what will happen is you're going to have a feeling of crying, a feeling of, pain, cold. So you feel that now you are feeling, whatever you are feeling is as a result of having attachment to the emotions. So when your emotions are well interpreted, then the feelings, you're able to express the right feelings. Now, let me give this an example. It may not sound the best, but it's something that I experience. This is a lady, a mother who lost the son, and the only son. And when she heard of the news, because the son got an accident, and by the time he was getting to the hospital was pronounced dead. When the mother had the information, the only thing he said, it's okay. Then the next action, when he reached in the hospital, he took the phone and took a photo of the son. He went back, no crying. He never shown any attachment to the emotions. Went home, did the preparation that they are done. During the burial day, the same thing happened. Took a photo, and he never cried. Now, what would happen? Ordinarily, when you hear someone, you have lost someone, a friend or a close relative, the first thing is you become uncontrollable. Your emotions take over of you. You cry, you throw things, because now you're being in touch with your emotions. It's the mind trying to resonate. No, could it be true? Could it not be true? So when now that you're not, there is no good connection with the emotions, what happened is you also don't portray the right feelings. Now, once you're able to build feelings for a certain period of time, when you retain those feelings, whether of happiness or sadness, whether of hurt or joy, when you hold your feelings for a given period of time, then it becomes your mood. I hope I'm clear. Emotion can run for a second, or maybe a second or two. Then from there, the feelings take over. Once you express your feeling, it creates your mood. That will say, hey, excuse me, kuwa happy. That we are describing your mood. So your mood has come from your feelings. Your feelings have come from your emotion. So when we talk of someone who have issues of mood swings, it's like they switch on and off. We are not dealing with with the moods. We need to go back to the place of emotional stability, because that is the bedrock. That is the foundation of our feelings and our moods. So if you have people who have issues of mood swing, 1 minute they were talking, another minute they were not talking, they're not talking to you. 1 minute they were responding well, another minute they're not responding. Most of the time we brand them and we label them, and probably we come ash on them without understanding this a reflection, this is a trigger, this is it is something that is showing there is an underlying factor that they need to deal with when it comes to emotions. I hope I'm clear. The 3 levels of understanding ourselves. When you have a positive, when you're in touch with the emotion, when you understand yourself emotionally, then most of the time you'll be able to manage your feelings, that you don't go overboard. You know how to regulate yourself. You know where to put your boundaries. There are people who become so happy, and at that moment when they're happy, they can do a lot of things. You'll get people when they're so happy, they'll go for shopping, they will spend money, they will send money to people. By the time they're realizing they were operating under feeling, or they were doing it out of a feeling, they have messed a lot. There are people who they become sad and they break everything, they abuse everybody. By the time they're realizing what they have done, they have messed. So when you realize you have an issue with your feeling, you don't deal with the feeling, you go to the emotion, because you can be able to see when you're going to look how you work on your emotion, so that you can be able at least to have the parameters of operating within a given period of time, where we would call healthy emotion checks. Now, how do you get to know that you have been practicing emotional avoidance. And I said this, most of the time we have this as a coping strategy. And why do we develop it as a coping strategy? Either so that you can run away from situations that keep hurting you, or number two, you could develop emotional avoidance as a mechanism to protect yourself. You realize, when you realize you're weak, when you realize probably you're vulnerable, what you do, you create a wall. And the best way to create these walls, sometimes it might not work for long, but it can work for a given period of time as you're working on yourself to make sure, now I can handle the situation. When you're not sure of how to handle your situation, what you do, you bring up the emotional avoidance, either by suppressing or completely denying. There could be two ways: either you suppress it or you deny that it is not true, it can't happen. But denial cannot last, it cannot sustain you. If you're using denial, suppression of emotion, then you must use it for a given period of time. And when you're doing this in either in your conscious or subconscious mind, I'm working on building a permanent coping strategy on dealing with my emotions. Probably they need to provide security. In the midst of providing security, they meet with dead people, casualties, and you expect them to be the first front people that they need to provide, a leadership per se, provide security. But who addresses their emotion? And what happened is, have you ever met a policeman crying or a policeman crying in the scenario? We always see these strong people, like probably when they go for training, it's like they suppress their emotions, they are no longer attached with their emotions. And what do happen? With the time, they get to realize there was a harm that happened to them. So mostly we'll get to understand the emotions that over time we have suppressed them. But when they catch up with you, they hit you. By the time you're realizing you need a shoulder to lean on, you need to be vulnerable, you need to let your emotions out, it's too late. You have walked that journey for so long. To a place coming back, it becomes hard. I gave just an example of some of personalities, some of careers where they have hidden their emotional, and what they have done, they have developed a coping strategy, avoidance. They avoid, everything is okay, tuendelee na maisha, tuko sawa. Actually, also on the gender, you realize the upbringing of a man. A man was shown he's not supposed to become emotional. A man has been brought up in a way, apart from now, these things have changed. We are brought that when you see a boy crying, you'll ask them, why are you crying and you're not a woman? It's like it is wrong for a man to express their emotion. It's like it is wrong for them to feel, the feelings of being happy, a place of feeling sad. You'll get both siblings, a male and a female, they lose a parent. But when a man starts crying, it doesn't look like it is mannish. It look like you have woman, you're womanish in a way. And like it is wrong to be in touch with the emotion and let your emotion sometimes take over. We have been brought up in a culture whereby that a man is not supposed to cry. But it is wrong. It is not right. A man has the same feeling as a woman. Ukikata mwanaume na ukate mwanamke, both of them, they're going to shed tears, and they're going to shed blood, which is red in color. No one is going to have a one that is white, another one it is red. Both of them, it means the same wiring of a man is the same wiring of a woman. Probably there could be a difference, but at the end of the day, there's a place of feeling. If you pinch a man and you pinch a woman, both of them, they're going to feel pain. And when you feel pain, what happens is it is hard. So it's a feeling. You need to express the feeling. You cannot express a disappointing feeling with laughing, unless there is confusion in your system. You cannot, you have lost a job, you are sick, and when people come to encourage you, you are laughing. There must be a disconnect. There must be a disorder in your feelings and your, the system working. Because normally when we go through certain things, there is a certain things we expect to see. Hope I'm clear. So, as we're getting deeper with our topic today, emotional avoidance, then how can you know that someone is practicing this? That's where I was before I gave those examples and the rest. Number one, these are people who tend to withdraw. They don't have a lot of people in their circles. And you can check those people are pointed up there, the kind of the circles they maintain. Because why they're they have this kind of a limited circle because they don't want to find themselves becoming emotional. They don't want to get themselves sharing, and at the end of the day they find that they want to break, like they want to cry, like they want to express their emotions. So for them to remain in that cocoon, in that safe place of emotional avoidance, what they do, they have limited interactions with the people. There are very few people, and actually most of the time when even the people they have, they make sure they they maintain what we would call a social, a surface kind of relationship with these people. They never allow themselves, you can live with someone and you never understand them. You never know when they're happy, when they're going through problem, because probably even they don't share. Because once you have limited people, number two, you open less, you don't talk, they don't talk a lot. If you want to realize someone is doing emotional avoidance, then they'll make sure they don't talk a lot because they don't want to make a mistake of opening a Pandora box. So for them making sure they don't open that Pandora box, they will remain silent. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. You're doing fine? Yes, I'm doing fine. How is family? It is okay. They don't want to give details because in the details, that's where you realize, oh man, I think I didn't cry at that particular point, so I can cry now. I don't know that you have ever had a conversation with someone and it was a nice conversation, and at a point they started crying. You're wondering, okay, what has happened? It's because you have given them an opportunity now to be in touch with that feeling now. And they need to deal with it, what you would call unfinished business. So that was unfinished business for them. So you're having a conversation now concerning something that happened 2, 3, 4 years, but they're crying now. Why? Because they have been carrying it as a baggage, as unfinished business. So these people who practice emotional avoidance, they talk less. I've said number one, they have very few people in their circle. Very few people. Number two, they make sure they don't talk much. Why are they avoiding a lot of discussion? Because in their discussion, they don't want to make a mess, or they don't want to make a point of opening beyond what they have put themselves, because they don't want to feel, they don't want to feel emotional, they don't want to feel vulnerable, they don't want to feel like, I'm kind of not controlling myself. They want to make sure they're always in control. They have this kind of a decorum. There is this kind of way they talk. There is this way they're able to manage their emotions and their feeling. They don't want to feel like, their place they misbehaved, so they make sure that they talk a lot. Number three, majority of time when you're having these kind of people who practice emotional avoidance, they will try as much as they can to avoid events and scenarios that they can make them to be more emotional. Any place they find they'll get themselves. If they're not in the area of duty, you'll more get most of them. They're in their cocoon. They have fallen back. They don't want to mingle with people. They don't want to be in functions when there will be a lot of emotions, taking place, because either way they might trip and find themselves, going back to the place where they left the emotion. And because they don't want to, so what they do, they make sure, most of the time you'll find them in very formal and shop, very formal gathering, very formal meetings. But when it comes to a place when they need to be themselves, they left themselves long time ago. So what they do, they avoid any scenario, any event that it is kinda emotional in a way. They would run away from it because they don't want, start opening that door. Because what you see, the environment that you expose yourself, and I remember I said last week, the emotion you expose yourself to, the kind of a place when you find yourself, it can help you to be in touch with the emotions. And because they don't want to be in touch with the emotion, because it's a coping strategy. It's a coping strategy, and they don't want to substitute it. They don't want to express it as a weakness. So what they will do, they will make sure anytime there is a function that will require them to be emotional, most of the time, either they try to avoid it, or if they appeared physically, but they leave the emotion elsewhere. That is very tough. And I remember I said this, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves that we cannot avoid our emotions, because I said before you become rational, you need to become relational. And you need also to understand how to relate with yourself. You need to be in charge of the self. That place of having peace, the place of having joy, the place of having that tranquility within you, the place when you feel you're in charge of yourself, in charge of your feelings and your moods, is a place when you don't leave the component of emotion. And remember, a lot of things outside, we can fix them. People can fix your dressing code. They can buy you clothes. People can fix your financial mess. They can organize and give you some few thousand. But you know what? People can never give you some thousands of emotions. The place of emotion, it is you and I who has a lot to work on it. A lot of other things, people can help us. Even people can help you to grow spiritually by buying you Bible, by making sure they're praying to you and over you with you. But the place of emotion, it must be a personal commitment that I want to work on my emotions, that I want to work on my feelings. And remember, someone who is emotionally stable, they are able to live a life. There is a way they're able to live their life, in a way, a swift manner. They're able to maneuver even when challenges they come. You'll get someone who is emotionally weak. Even if they are hit on their finances area, it will break them like 10 times. So you can get two people, being dismissed from, from employment, and the way they react to the same scenario, to the same event, totally one within 1 year or 1 month, they have adjusted and probably they have gotten something else to do. Someone 2 years, they are still there in that door because they were not emotionally strong to handle the situation. Remember, everything that happens outside, it is responded inwardly. And remember, what lives within you, it is your emotions. So when you don't have a strong backup in terms of emotions, when life hits you, it hits you badly. That's when you realize those people who For long they have avoided the emotions. When the time will come and they cannot run away, you cannot run away from the truth. You can run, yes, but the moment you'll catch up with us, it will be done, and it will be done with us completely. That you find these kind of people, when they are hit and they are broken. There are people who probably they will develop, as you say, don't thought in a minute, and within another minute they have actualized it. There are people who, and people without people with emotional avoidance, they're not sympathetic. They don't empathize with you. They don't sympathize with you, so they don't get into your shoes. So they are the people who can do anything, and they don't feel it. The other people will say, kumaliza, and you think it's a joke, and they do it because all along they don't have the feeling. So there is nothing of empathy. There is no place of sympathizing with you. They can do anything at any time because they have suppressed emotions for long. Hope I'm clear. Hope you're moving on. I know we are getting deeper. Let me get to hear your comment as I take a breather. Someone is saying, Susan, Paris, thank you. Make sure sound imepotea. I hope it is back now. Yes, I can see someone saying the sound is back. Thank you. Thank you for that. My director is working on it. I want to appreciate Paris. Thank you for coming. Muranga, well presented. Susan, thank you so much. My friend from Taita, Mark, thank you for coming in. I hope Taita is doing very well. I also want to acknowledge people from Keno, those who are watching us from Keno. Thank you so much. So because of interest of time, when you realize that for long you have avoided your emotion, how do you go back to a place of now, recollecting yourself, getting yourself back? Because you'd have made mess in life, but it is not worth living in those messes. When you realize there is a need to correct, there is a need of adjusting and making sure that you're doing well. I say this, sometimes we find ourselves in emotional avoidance, not because we want, either because the duty calls, the duties, their responsibility that they calls, that we cannot keep expressing our emotions. So there are those moments that you find yourself, I have nothing else to do, but I needed to be like that. But don't make it to become a behavior. Because once it becomes a behavior, when you do it and with a place of becoming a behavior, then they realize you cannot sustain it. It's not sustainable. There are behaviors that are not sustainable. And most the behaviors that calls from within, they becomes hard. These are not acquired. Expressing your feeling is not acquiring a thing. It is an inbuilt and inborn thing. Feelings are not acquired, they are inborn. So you anything that you try to modify that is within, that it is inborn, it is inbuilt, within time it's going to correct itself. And by the time it's correcting itself, you find you have lost it. So when you find yourself, you have been practicing emotional avoidance and you cannot sustain it, how can you bring a corrective, behavior? Number one, it is what would call acceptance and commitment therapy. Acceptance and commitment therapy. I want to explain how this therapy works. Number one is accepting. You accept that what you have been doing, it is not right. You accept that what I've been doing, it is what I've been doing. There are people who tell them, this is not you. And they will fight to the core that that's who they are. There are people who change. There are people who adjust. There are people who go through a season and they adjust either negatively. And you try to help them, but they believe that's who they are. So the place of acceptance has two coins. Accepting what I have been doing, it is not the right, and probably I might not be able to sustain it, and also accepting there is a need of altering it or changing it to a better strategy. So when we are using acceptance commitment therapy, is that number one is accepting there is something we need to adjust. Adjusting from negative to positive. Adjusting if this is how you've been dealing with it. I would appreciate if you take a whole month, dealing with, when what I would call people coming and they are leaving everything to you emotionally. People come and they're draining you. Then you get to accept that in a month you need to have somebody, either a counselor or someone, who can listen to you and who can allow you to be yourself. When you can cry, you can shout, you can jump, you can dance to certain, to some crazy dances, but you're letting yourself, out. There are things you're letting out. There are places when you're feeling like, now I'm back to myself. So when we're talking about acceptance, you need to accept the things I need to work on, the things I need to change on. Then there is a place of commitment. Why we call it a behavior is because you have done it over time. Now, what makes you to do something over time is because of the commitment. A journey that you have walked, you also require the same commitment to walk backwards. Something that you have built over here, you need the commitment to know you cannot fix it in a day. It has taken us to walk away from ourselves for 10 years, but we want to walk back to ourselves in a night. There is no miracle. The place of being patient and commitment into it is saying, this thing I built over 6 years. It's a behavior I've built over 6 years, either knowingly or unknowingly. Then what happened is, when I realize that I need to start now adjusting it, I also require the same or less time with a lot of commitment. Sometimes you have given up. You know what? I gave up and I went back to myself. The place of getting yourself back, it is a place of commitment. And that's why we call it a therapy. The place when either you need help from people and their routine that you create, there are things that you put into place that will keep helping you to get yourself back. So that is one of the strategy that can help you in the place of making sure that you have really accepted your commitment into altering some few things, adjusting few things, and then make it a routine, make it something that is continuous. Number 2, which is very important, is behavior modification. Now, on the place of behavior modification, remember, emotions are not built in a day. So it is a certain behavior. You have gone through a certain thing, and there is the way you have reacted to it the first time, the second time, and the third time. You have been, responding to the same thing the same way and in the same measure. So if now you are going to alter that, then you require to start now behaving, creating a new behavior in you, a new habit in you that now will help you to realize and to be more in touch with the emotions. So once you realize, I've been avoiding my emotions. How have I been avoiding my emotions? Either probably I don't allow things hit me well. There are things that you just put a blanket, what we call a veil. Either a veil by going to a denial state, which we said, you are sick, but you assume and you deny and you refuse to agree I'm sick. Unless you agree you are sick, you never get healed. You never take medicine. So that place of not accepting then denies you an opportunity to heal, because healing starts when you accept, I'm sick and I need to work on something. Now, the same thing when you're talking about behavior. When you're talking about behavior modification, you need to accept what we said, that I have been assuming the part of emotion in my life. Either by having a veil, there are things I lock, it's like they bounce back. Then either by the people that I put around my circle or by the things that I talk, there are people who never allow themselves to let their heart out. There are people who they will never accept when they're defeated. There are people who never accept when they are down. They are properly down, but they still want to fight their standing. That it means, because you are down and you want to say you're not down, there is something else you are using, either illusion or delusion in your mind, that no, you are telling yourself I'm still standing, but you are down. When that energy you are using to stand when you are down, when it is over, what will happen? You'll find yourself down. So there are people who have been down, but all over they have been standing. And they think they are standing, but they are down. They are typically down. When that energy of standing when you are down, it is over, then you'll be down times 10. So when you are talking about behavior modification, is a place when you become real to yourself. And I know this is kind of a behavior. If I continue with this behavior, it cannot sustain me for long. It can't carry me for long. So you start now modifying that behavior, either through by creating new environments, new connections, either exposing your mind and yourself into new things and which helps you to be more emotional, attached to your emotions. You need to have friends who can cause some things and you find yourself, lost in your emotions. It is good to be that place when you find yourself, whether you're a man, but whichever career you are in, you need to have people who can trigger your feelings. You need to have people who can, in a good circle, let me say that, in a good circle, in a good environment, where people can trigger you to be real. Remember, we have heard this cliche for long, that fake it until you make it. But that cliche has messed a lot of people. That cliche is making a lot of people go to bed and they're wondering, where am I going to get sleep? That cliche of faking it until you tokezea the other side have made a lot of people tonight, they're wondering, where is my life heading? Remember what we were dealing with last week? People feeling a lot of emptiness. Yet you find them, they're okay. Because along the way, they decided not to be themselves. They decided not to address real things in life. And I always say this, our first calling is dealing within ourselves, is getting attached with ourselves. We have been attached with people, we have been attached with things, we have been attached with a lot of, connections, but we have refused to be in touch with ourselves. And this is the first place of losing our attachment with emotions. I always say that emotion is the engine. You can have a good car with good tires. You can have a good car with good body, painted well. You can have a good car that, it's looking big. It's not the Kadudu kind of a car. But it doesn't matter if that car, however beautiful it looks like from outside, if the engine is not working, you better have a Kadudu, a Kavix, having that small car, and the word small is relative. It's better have that like a small car that is not looking attractive from people, but when you ignite that car, you are 100%. You can move from here to Mombasa without mechanical or mechanical problems. That's the same scenario or the same analogy when it comes to our life. We could be looking great and have said this, but tonight you lost your emotions. You have suppressed it for long. And there are things that when they're catching up with us, they're catching up at the wrong age. You can imagine being at 40, 45, 50, 60, and you're feeling for all long you have been living a void, you have been living a hollow life, you have been living a life that has no meaning. They say, it's true, they say that life is lived forward but understood backwards. But even if you're understanding life backward, we have a calling to be in touch with ourselves. And that is my calling tonight. For how long have you been avoiding your emotions? For how long have you been avoiding, and you feel you're not okay, but you want to tell the world you're okay? The greatest world you can conquer, it is not us. The greatest world I can conquer, it is not you people. The greatest world I can conquer, it's myself. The greatest place I can reach in this life is a place when I get to a place of self-actualization and being real to myself. Brothers, sisters, this evening, and the purpose of us meeting here every night, you have taken your time and your bundles. I want to help ourselves to get into a place of being attached, having attachment, having a connection with our feelings, with our emotions, with our moods. When you're broken, accept you're broken. When you're hurt, accept your heart. When you're happy, also show that the place of happiness. When you have that joy, express your feelings. Being real is expressing yourself. Is when things are calling you to be that place when you feel you're down. It is not a weakness. It doesn't express you're not human enough when you express your feelings. Actually, I say this. Any great man and woman are people who understand how to express their emotions and also be in touch of them. And that is my calling tonight. We cannot continue losing ourselves in the wilderness, wandering about and not having a certainty of how tomorrow will be. We might not know how the tomorrow will be, but one thing we know, we have what it takes. If tomorrow comes, we have what it takes to make it. Remember this. The many years we have lived in this world, the many people who have invented a lot of things. No one has ever invented how to manufacture physically happy. Your emotions is your biggest responsibility. I wish we'll take it tonight as our primarily calling. That, do you know what? I want to be in charge of my emotions. I'm not going to avoid it for any long. I've done it for long. It has not done me well. If you don't want to fall into depression, you don't want to fall into stress, you don't want to feel you're losing it in life, be in touch with your emotions. If you don't want to have issues of mental health, kindly be in touch with the emotions. Appreciate who you are. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. And the bottom line is, those people that have been avoiding the emotions, it is time to go back where you left it. Pick it. It might take some time, but it is worth going for it. Guys, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to reach to you. It's our joy, it's our desire coming here. You also help us to grow. You also help us to speak to ourselves, to minister to ourselves, and also remind ourselves that we're also human beings here. We also have a lot to do in place of finding ourselves. We don't bring this message because we are the most knowledgeable, but it's only by the grace of God we have a platform when we can share and build one another. Thank you. Sally is back, our assistant director. She does her work. She likes. Thank you, Moshiri from Muranga. God bless you. Yes, profound. Samuel Muranga. God bless you, my brother. Jose, Jessis, Samist, all the way from Kahuro. God bless you. Guys, God bless you. God bless you for coming in and sharing and dropping your comment. As we end this show, I want to challenge each and every person that have logged in or they have joined us in this live. Make sure that you are sharing. Make sure you're dropping a comment there. Tell us how we can reach, how we can make this show better, where you think we can adjust. Hit my DM, drop a message, and God bless you. Those who are watching, you can find all our books that we have. God have helped us to author. If you do want to order one of or two of those books or three of them, there are 7 of them. Make sure at least by the end of this year you have interacted 1 or 2 of them, and God will bless you. From us to you people, we want to appreciate you and to say thank you. Until next week, keep sharing, keep subscribing to our YouTube channel, that is Sam Minus MTV, and always pray for us. We love you people. Until next week, God bless you, God keep you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you.